Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to RPG Basics Part 29. Yeah, this is 29. In this video, we're going to be changing the artificial intelligence a little bit for our enemies to a slightly better system that's not quite as glitchy. And then I'm going to also be showing you how to create an enemy that has sprites for all four directions, because some people have been asking how you would do that. There's been a lot of people wanting to know how to do that. So that's what we're going to do today. In part 30, the next video, I'm actually going to show how to add some sound effects and music to the game, because even though I show how to do that in some of my other videos, I feel like it's an important part of this series, kind of like showing the complete process and how you might go about that. So I'll be doing that in part 30. So you can expect that video sometime next week. And let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to modify the artificial intelligence before we add in the new enemies. So come into our enemy right here, the enemy object, and inside of the create event, we're going to change, first you can get rid of test. We don't need that anymore. Then you can change target X and target Y to X axis and Y axis. So before we were using a single coordinate in the room, like maybe the player's location or a random coordinate to move to when they're in the wander state. But now we're going to use an axis, which is it just points in a direction from our location. And the reason we're switching that is because this system doesn't have as many bugs. It's just a slightly easier system to work with, and it's the system that I use in Grain War. And so the coordinate system is okay, but I think the axis system is a little bit better. So that's what we're going to change it to. So once you've changed that, we need to change our enemy's states. So come into the enemy. We'll need to change the helper functions. So come into the enemy, choose next state right here. We're going to make some modifications to this code. You can see we're getting a target X, which is a random coordinate inside of the room, and a target Y, which is a random, this is just a random coordinate inside the room. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch this to X axis and Y axis. And instead of doing a random coordinate, we're going to do a random range. And we're going to do -1 and +1 for both of these. So this should get us an axis that we can use. Now, if you want to improve on this system even a little bit more, we can make sure that we only get a new axis if we've chosen the wander state. So we're going to say if state is equal to script enemy wander state. Select this, tab it over. There we go. That way, it will only choose a new axis if we're wandering. So if we're just idling, it won't choose a new axis. And the reason we do that is because then the enemy will continue facing the direction that it was facing before, instead of switching and facing a new direction when it chooses the idle state. Okay, now that we've done that, open up the check for script player. Inside of here, we need to change the target X and target Y as well. So change this to X axis and this to Y axis, just like we did before. But we're going to need, in order to get these new axes, whichever that is, we're going to need a direction to the player. So do var dir equals point direction x y object player dot x object player dot y. And the reason we need a direction is because we're going to be using this direction and using the length dir x and length dir y functions in order to get our new x axis and y axis. So the x-axis is going to be length dir x, the length is going to be 1, and the direction is going to be dir, which is the variable we just got right there. And for the y-axis, it'll be similar. Length dir y, 1 and dir. So now we can get an x-axis and a y-axis that way. Great, we're getting close. Open up the enemy idle state. And inside of, well, we don't need to change this one yet, actually. Or the stall state, I don't think. Let's open it up and make sure, yeah. We just need to change the wander and chase states. So I'm going to open up both the enemy wander and the enemy chase state. We'll do the chase state first. Inside of here, we just need to get, so using the horizontal speed and vertical speed, the only thing we need to change here is instead of pointing to the target x, we're just going to point to our x-axis and y-axis. Y-axis. Okay. Looks good. And then inside of the wander state, it's the same thing. All we need to change is our x-axis and y-axis. Actually, I lied. Inside of this state, we can actually remove this right here. And since this code right here is exactly the same, if you'll notice, this code and this code, look how similar those look, right? So because they are basically exactly the same, we can pull this out into its own script. So I'm going to copy this right here, and we're going to create a new script, and we're going to name this script move along move. We'll just call it move axis. So this script will just move along the current axis that we are already on. And remove the script check for player. The reason we want to remove that is because it doesn't really, it's not really a part of this logic right here. So then, instead of doing this, we can just say script move axis in both of these. Okay, so we're moving that logic outside into its own script since it's the same. Now I'm going to drag this script up into the enemy helper scripts right here, since it is a helper script for the enemy. Okay, we're looking good. Save your game, run it. Now what you should see is the enemies will behave basically exactly the same that they did before. But they should have, if you had any glitches with the way the enemies were working before, oh, whoops. Okay, I knew this would happen. Okay, so that didn't work. And I knew I would make this mistake. Go into the script move along the axis, okay? Some of you may have noticed that I made this mistake, but it's a really subtle one, and I'm actually glad I made this mistake because I can see that a lot of people might make this mistake when they're changing this. And so if I make it, that's good because then you guys can see it. So the direction right here, when we're getting the direction, our x-axis and y-axis aren't relative to our position, right? They're just a number, probably somewhere between -1 and 1. And so if we point from our position to that number, it's not going to get us the correct direction. What we need to point to is from the origin to that number. Now that will get us the correct direction that we need. So make sure you update that. It should just be in your script, in your helper script, the move axis. Just make sure that point direction is 0 and 0 from the origin to our x-axis and y-axis, not x and y. So there you go. I'm glad I made that mistake because now if other people make the mistake as well, it will be in this video and it'll be easier for them to figure out. Okay, so now the enemy should work just like they used to, right? They should wander around in the room, face the correct direction, but they should also chase us. I mean, they work just the same way that they used to, but they'll probably be a little bit less glitchy. So I can't guarantee these ones had glitches before, but the new enemies that we're going to add in did have glitches without this axis system. So that's what we're going to do now. Now I have these saved to my desktop right here. So I'm going to give you guys, there'll be a link in the description for these images. These are just, this is an enemy from my game Grain War. So you can use these images. I'm going to say that they're just like all the other images in this project. I'm just going to say that these are open source images. So if you guys want to use them in your game, you can. I do recommend giving credit if you do use them in your game, but you don't have to. So the easy way to import these is to select them all and drag and drop them in here. And then GameMaker will ask what kind of resource we want to create, and we want to create sprites. And boom, it just created a whole ton of sprites for us. So now we need to rename these. So this one right here is, well, actually, they have some of the name already. They just have strip 3 at the end. So remove that. And then remove the sprite at the start. So this one should just be sprite chinlin run up. I'm going to center the origin, but then set the Y to 16. And that should be good. Next, take off the strip 3 at the end. Come back to the start, remove the sprite 22. And then center it and set the Y to 16. Same with this one. Remove the strip 3. Go to the start. Remove sprite 21. Center it and do 16 for the Y. This one, I think we've only got 3 more. And we got sprite chinlin right here. Okay. Center 16. Okay. Center 16. And then our last one. Center 16. Okay. So we've got all of our new sprites. Awesome. Now what we need to do is we need to duplicate the slime object. And I'm going to set this to full screen again. Duplicate the slime object. Name it object enemy chinlin. And I'm going to grab the new sprite, which is just stand right. I'm going to modify the collision shape, because that's not the correct collision shape for this enemy. So I'm just going to do a box. So switch it to a box. And then I'm going to do from about here to here. So you guys can do it how you want. But this is the shape that I'm going to do. This little kind of rectangle around the base. But I'm going up a little bit higher on it, just a tad. So, okay. So that should be good. Now inside of here, there's a lot of logic that we... so you could make an enemy parent object and move some of this logic into that enemy parent. It all kind of depends on how unique you want your enemies to be. So currently they're inheriting from the life form parent, which just gives them basic things like being able to die. But if you want to make your enemies, I guess, if there are other properties that you want to be shared across all enemies, you would create an enemy parent. I'm not going to do that for this one because I don't feel like I don't feel like I need to for this. So we're going to create, if you remember in our player, come into the player object. Remember this nice little array that we set up? Well, we're going to create this same thing. So copy this, and we're going to create it inside of this enemy. And we're also going to give this enemy a movement. Movement equals idle. Yeah, we'll do idle. We'll have to add that. And face equals right. And then we'll copy this array here. And we'll add one more, but let's change this first. So this is Sprite and Chinlin stand. So this is move. So this is going to be for run right. So Sprite Chinlin run right. Copy this. It'll be the same for the left one. Now, why is it the same for the left one? It's the same because our enemies just mirror, right, for left and right. And so we can use the right sprite and our code will mirror it. And then have this be down, this be up, and this be down. And then we can copy this right here. And we're going to create another one called idle. So instead of move right here, we'll do idle. And we'll just do stand, which is the idle sprite. Okay. Now for the attack, our enemy doesn't actually have an attack state. I'm just putting this in the array so that they're not completely undefined values. But you can just use the run right for every single one of these in the attack state. If you were to add a state to this enemy and kind of modify its programming so it works differently from the other enemy, other than just the sprites, you would maybe set up some attack sprites for this as well and have your own attack state for the enemy. But this one's just going to behave just like the slimes. It's just going to have its own sprites. So now we need to create this macro because it's not there yet. So come to macros and we're going to come into default, and here after attack we'll add idle and set it to 0. Or sorry, 2. I want to set it to 2. 0 is already used for move, so we can't do that. Set it to 2. Okay, now we have our enemy. We'll probably want to make this enemy move a little faster, so I'm going to give it a speed of 1.5 inside of here. And we want it to animate a little faster, so I'm going to give it a speed of 0.2 instead of 0.1 for the image speed. Now we can come up and we need to modify the states again, the enemy states. But we don't need to do a lot of modification here. Basically, we just need to come into the stall state, and inside of here, we set, if you remember, we've separated out this logic, so we can just say movement equals idle, because we're in the stall state. And then come into the idle state, and we also want to do the same thing here, so movement equals idle. Okay, looking good. In our wander state, when we're moving inside of here, script move access, we're going to want this to be running anyways. So I feel like that's part of this logic. We can put it in here. You can say movement. I'll do it before you move. Movement equals run. Let's see, move actually is what it was in this one. And since we were doing it in this script, we don't have to worry about it doing it in the chase state as well. But inside of here, we need to get the direction. So we need to get the face now. And to do this, we're going to change our script get face a little bit. So come into the helper scripts and do script get face. We're going to make this script, and this is good. It's going to show you guys how you can change a function and kind of make sure that you get it changed everywhere. We're going to make this script take a direction in instead of using a default direction. So we're going to pass direction in, so set dir here, and we're going to have it get an argument. So var dir equals argument 0. And now we've changed the script to take a direction. So now we can say get face. Let's see, script get face, and we can pass in direction. And so that will get the direction that we created up here and pass it into the script so that then the script can set the correct face based on that. Okay? But now we'll probably get an error because the player also uses this. Now you could go find it, but I'm going to show you guys a neat little trick, which is Control-Shift-F. If you press Control-Shift-F, you can search through all of the objects inside of GameMaker. You can choose what you want to search through here, all of the different scripts, and you can choose what you want to search for. So we're just going to do everything and everything, and we're going to search for script get face. Now it comes up with this little dialog box. Sometimes in Windows 10 you have to adjust the corner here to get it to show up correctly. And you can see here all of the places where we're using the face. We're using it inside of the script right here, so you can see found script get face in script get face. And you can see right here, found it inside of the script move state, which is for our player. And you can see found inside of the script move axis, which is for the enemy. Well, the only place that we're not passing in the argument for direction is inside of the player. You can see that over here in the search context. So if you double click on the player one right here, that's not passing in the dir, it will open it up and show you that location. Then you can pass face into it to make sure that the script is updated. Now, we're only using it in one other location, but imagine you were using it in 20 other locations. This search would be really useful because then you could change it in every single location. So that's Control-Shift-F to do that. And I actually use it quite a bit when I'm working on larger projects. So there we go. Now we've got that set up. We should be able to run the game. I think everything. Oh, we'll want to add the enemy to the room as well. So come into the rooms, go to room 1, select the Chinlin enemy and put it in the room. And hopefully this works. Hopefully we set up everything right. Don't have any more mistakes. Let's see. Okay. So we've got some issues here, don't we? The player's face is no longer working. So let's double check that. I'm going to search the same thing again and do player get face. Get face. Oh, I passed in face. Should be dir. Okay. Got to pass that in. And the other thing that we forgot to do, which is why the enemy wasn't working, is do you remember how we have to set the sprite index inside of the step event using the array that we create in the create event in our 2 variables? We forgot to do this inside of the enemy. So come into the enemy, come into the step event, and run this sprite index equals sprite face and movement. Okay, now our enemy should work. You can see when it chases us, it faces the correct direction. Up, down, left, and right. When we run away from it, it stands there and then kind of goes into its idle state. And it works. And it should be able to attack us. Just like the slimes do. Because it uses the same basic code, so it's using the same states. This thing is going to kill us. And I died. Might want to, you can change how far the enemy takes knockback by changing its density. Because its sprite might be a little larger than the slimes and it moves faster. You might want to lower its density to change the knockback. Or another option too is you could make it choose how much to knock it back inside of your damage. So you could have a specific collision event for this enemy to change how much knockback it does. Have it be more than the general life form parent. Anyways, there you go. We updated the artificial intelligence a little bit to you guys might not be able to see the effects of that, but trust me, it was a good choice because I was trying to add in these enemies without switching to an axis system, and I was getting some interesting bugs, some weird bugs. So I switched it to an axis system, and it fixed all the issues that I was having. And now you know how to add in an enemy that can have 4 directions for its sprites. And like I said in the player one, it's the same for 8 directions. You just need to set up more information here in this array. And then you need to update your get face so that it gets 8 directions instead of just 4 directions. But other than that, the logic will be exactly the same. So it's really, really handy to have a system like this. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. I know you guys sometimes get a little frustrated when I make a Godot video instead of a GameMaker video, but I really want to do Godot as well. I enjoy that engine, and I enjoy GameMaker a lot too. So just try and be patient with me. I will continue to do these videos as well, and I will talk to you guys later.